Bonjour, mon ami, and welcome to a book recommendation whisper ramble in the best possible timeline. A few months ago, I put a Q&A, ask me questions and I'll give you answers thing, and then I got really sick, and that didn't happen. So I'm finally getting around to answering those questions, and this one is about books. So the question was, this is going to include some hair play too, this video, because everyone's been asking me to wear my hair down, and that means I'm melting. So the question was, and I'm paraphrasing here, what's your go-to book for like when you're having a day? And the answer is, I love books, and it like depends on the day. So I thought I would just make like a series of all my favorite books. We're not going to do all those in that video. This video is going to be about my 3 favorite books of all time. And they're the ones that I go to the most. So this is the answer to that question. But there will be more other answers also, depending on your mood and your needs at the time. So my very favorite book in the entire world is The Art of Loving by this book is just absolutely wonderful and brilliant. This copy is from the library because I recently gave away my copy of this book. I have owned so many copies of this book. I am single-handedly keeping the Eric Fromm Foundation in business because I buy it, I read it again, and then I give it away. So a few months ago, I gave it away to someone for their birthday, and that's why I don't have like that copy that I gave that person was like annotated, highlighted, notes written. This is the library copy that I've never even opened before. So unfortunately, I do not have like my notes, but I'm just gonna give you my spiel for this book, which I've probably read at least half a dozen times, like cover to cover. I'll read the intro thing here. Maybe that'll be good. It says, the art of loving. Is love an art or merely a sensation? If it is an art, says renowned psychoanalyst Eric Fromm, then it requires knowledge and effort. In this classic volume, blah blah blah, who cares about any of that? Anyway, the point is, Eric Fromm, this book has transformed my understanding of love and life. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's super tiny. It's kind of dense though. You might have to like read some sentences more than once. It's so good though. So Eric Fromm talks about how like we expect that like once we meet the right person, we're just gonna be like the best lover ever. We're gonna be the most amazing husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, partner. We just haven't met the right person yet. And he's like, that's ridiculous. If anybody said that about anything else, you would be like, yeah, good luck with that, buddy. So the example that he gives in the book is like, what if you met someone who was like, I'm a brilliant musician, I just haven't met my instrument yet, and so I don't bother to learn any of the other instruments, but I know I'm really good. You'd be like, yeah, okay. And love is like that. Like, we think it's supposed to be this easy thing that we just fall into, and he's like, that emotional state that people fall into is real and it's fun, but love is something that you stand in. And I love that idea. It's like it's a choice, it's a practice, right? Just like anything where there's an art, like you get better at it by practicing your capacity for it. That's another thing he talks about in the book. He talks about like so many people see the problem of love as like what they want to build themselves up to be lovable, and they only care about if people love them. They don't care about what they actually have control over, which is their practice of loving others. So this book has inspired me to become a little obsessed over my practice of loving. And he goes into the love of God, the love of parents, the love of your fellow man, romantic love. He touches on all of that, and just gives you a lot to think about regarding how you can be practicing your capacity for being a loving human, and how much joy and power is in that, when you're not worried about how other people may or may not treat you. You're worried about what you actually have control over, which is how you treat the people you love. And that's the thing, I think a lot of people like think that they love people, but their practice isn't really there. Like, talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words. Like, that's something that's a little disheartening after you get this, because you'll be like, oh, this person thinks they love me, and they probably do. Like, they probably feel like they do, but their practice is really bad. But it's empowering because you don't have to be a person like that, you know? You can cultivate your practice with deliberate intention. So for Eric Fromm, he says that love is active care and concern for the beloved, which you have knowledge of, right? So you can't love anybody more than you know them. If you don't know giant aspects of who they are, then you can't love those aspects of who they are. So you can only love someone insofar as you know them. And then from there, it's how responsive are you to the unfolding of that person, independent of how it affects you and your needs, right? So we don't look at anyone as a means to an end. Everybody is an end in and of themselves, and we want what's best for them because we love them, and we're going to help them co-create that reality that's best for them, even if it's not what's best for us, because we love them, and they're their own ends, you know. So all of that is great. Love being active care and concern. It really empowers you to look at who you're being, who you're choosing to be in your life. Are you being responsive? Are you responding to the needs of the people that you love with action? So that's all really amazing and beautiful, and I just love this book so much. It is my very favorite book of all time. His other books are fantastic. He is brilliant. He's one of the fathers of humanistic psychology. I think he's a German fellow. He taught at Columbia and Harvard, I think. And he's just brilliant and fantastic and phenomenal. And I love Eric Fromm. This is my favorite Eric Fromm book. I think it's also the shortest one. And it's just so dense, and it's like nectar. I love this book. So that is the first book that I come to when I'm having a day. It reminds me to focus on myself, and in my own capacities, and that's so rewarding. Like, you get so much out of knowing that, like, I showed up, I did the thing, I'm proud of how I acted, I'm doing the work, that kind of thing. It overlaps a lot with the ideas of another author who's really good, and actually didn't make my stack over here, but is brilliant too, and that's John Gottman, and he's a researcher, a psychologist. He works with the his wife, but he gets all the credit for some reason. And they have the Gottman Institute, and supposedly John Gottman can sit down with a couple for like 15 minutes or something crazy and be like, I give it 10 months, or I give it 11 years, with like 90% accuracy, they say. And again, it's all about responsiveness for Gottman. So the example that he gives in a couple of his books is he sets up these like little fake Airbnbs, and couples go there and they have like a weekend, and at first they're acting weird because there's cameras all over the place, but then they slip into their old habits. And one guy is a bird watcher, and his wife is reading a book, and he's like, oh my god, honey, look, it's the rare stellar blue jay. I just made that up. And she'll, at that point, she has a choice. You know, she can be responsive or dismissive, and she can be either in a constructive or destructive way. I think those are the words. Oh no, active. Okay, so like active constructive would be like putting the book down, walking over to her husband and be like, oh my god, even though she doesn't care about the bird at all. She's responding to the unfolding of something that's like important to the person she cares about. And then she can be active destructive. She can say like, fuck you and your fucking bird. Or she can be passive dismissive. She can just ignore him. Or she can be active dismissive. Oh, no, I'm mixing those up. Anyway, that's not one of my favorites. It's good. He wrote Science of Trust. That's my favorite Gottman book. It's like this thick. It's brilliant. And then more commonly is like the 7 Principles for a Happy Marriage or something. That's a good one. He's great. Love overlapping theories, but this is like this cheat sheet version of just, you want to be a loving person, respond to people's needs, then you will be a great loving person, whether it's a neighbor, a daughter, a friend, a romantic partner, a devotee of God. That's how you do it. Just respond to people's needs as they unfold before you. So some of the ideas in this book are a little dated, and if you read it, you'll know which ones I mean. But it was written in like 1954, I think, so you just have to keep that in mind. It's like literally like a couple ideas, and you're like, what? But mostly it's brilliant. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay, so second book when I am having a day, we'll go with The Untethered Soul by The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael A. Singer. Let's see, what does this say? Number 1, New York Times bestseller, more than 1 million copies sold. Read this book carefully and you will get more than a glimpse of eternity. That's Deepak Chopra, who actually I don't like. Unpopular opinion, I know. I just feel like he's very unoriginal, and he borrows a lot of ideas and doesn't give anybody credit. So that's my gripe with Deepak. But this book is amazing. So if this book tells you how to develop your capacity for love, which is something that's very important to me, this book helps you develop your witness consciousness. None of these books are fiction, by the way, in case you can tell. Some of those books are fiction. I definitely read more nonfiction. I'm pretty obsessed with like myself and how to be the best me I can possibly be. So that is the kind of stuff I like to read. I like some fiction. I'm very picky about fiction though. I'm kind of like a nonfiction slut. So this book is so good, and it's also a good audiobook. You can play it in the background. And yeah, it's all about developing witness consciousness, not identifying with your ego, cultivating an awareness and like the space between that awareness and your ego, so that when you have a feeling that you want to act on, your awareness goes, that's interesting. Do we really want to do that? Like, I know we feel like we want to do that, but is that really the set us being our highest self right now. Yeah, it's so amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit. Okay, so this book I originally got from the library. Then I bought my brother a copy for Christmas, which he read that much of. He didn't like it and gave back to me. So it also doesn't have any highlights. Like if I own a book, I will write in it, I will highlight it, I will like make sweet love to the book. That's just who I am. But this one doesn't have any highlighting. So I'm just gonna read a little bit of the back to you. So it says, who are you really? What would it be like to be free from limitations and soar beyond your boundaries? Sounds pretty nice, right? What can you do each day to find this kind of inner peace and freedom? The untethered soul offers a simple, profoundly intuitive answer to these questions. Whether this is your first exploration of inner space or you've devoted your life to the inward journey, this book will transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you. That's pretty high bar, but I feel like it delivers. The untethered soul begins by walking you through your relationship with your thoughts and emotions, helping you uncover the source and fluctuations of your inner energy. It then delves into what you can do to free yourself from the habitual thoughts, emotions, and energy patterns that limit your consciousness. Finally, with perfect clarity, this book opens the door to live a life in the freedom of your innermost being. So these are the kinds of books I like to read. Books that really transform your capacity to navigate life as it unfolds before you, which I think this book does a really beautiful job of. And I didn't bring that. Maybe I'll show it in a future one. It comes with an accompanying journal, a guided journal. So the guided journal is so beautiful, by the way. Each page is like a different watercolor, beautiful canvas, and it will have like a quote from the book, and then a question, and a couple pages for you to write. And it's just, it's gorgeous. I can't believe I didn't even think to show that. Yeah, I gotta get that up for you guys. So highly, 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 highly recommend this beautiful book. It's one of the things that has transformed me, and I guess that when I put this list together of my 3 favorite books, that's the thing that I noticed about the collection, is that each of these books has added a lot of value to my life by empowering my capacity to navigate life, and I feel like I have this inner peace, right? So we talk about witness consciousness. That's this part of you. Where's this hair coming from? So witness consciousness is like this part of you that steps back and witnesses, right? All the unfoldings of the human dramas, yours and other people's around you. So, oh God, where was I going with that? I'm glad you're totally caught up on what witness consciousness is. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm very sorry. I know I sound smart a lot of the time, but I also have brain damage. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, oh God, that's gonna bug me. I'm sorry. Wonderful book. Highly, highly recommend. All of the books. That's what it is. So, who I am today, after 5 years of being like mostly bedridden and in and out of ERs and dozens of doctors and dozens of diagnoses, as this inner peace that I never had before. And it's been a gift of illness and of books like this. This book also I've always been a wonderful lover. But this book, the next book, a couple other things that really like catapulted my inner transformation have left me in a position where I just have so much more inner peace than almost anyone I've ever met. I did work with like llamas and rinpoches, and there's a couple. My grandmother was very grounded in inner peace, filled within a wellspring of inner peace, but like I'm just so okay like 99% of the time now. Like it's so rare for me to get pulled out of this like calm, tranquil state, and it's not because things are good. Like things are not good. On paper, my life is a complete disaster, but inside here and inside here, like I'm doing better than almost anybody I know. So that is the thing that I noticed that my witness consciousness goes, that's funny, about all three of these books. Like they will all enhance your capacity for inner peace and to just navigate the world a little more empowered. So I read each of these books more than once, or read and then audioed or whatever. And that brings me to my final book from my favorite book collection, and this is Inner Engineering, A Yogi's Guide to Joy by Sadhguru. Yeah, and this book is just fantastic. I think this is the first audiobook I ever listened to. And it's a really good audiobook. He reads it himself, which is always nice. And he's got like a nice calming voice, and he just seems very like authentic. There's a bluebird outside my window. That's funny. That's the thing earlier. Anyway. So yeah, this book is all about, like the title says, inner engineering. God, that's too hard. How do people do this? And so it's all about how to put your insights together, like cultivate that capacity for the witness consciousness that they talked about in this book. He talks about that here. And an inner peace, so that no matter what is going on the outside, like you're good. And I'm not quite there yet. Admittedly, I'm a lot further along than like most people, which is to say like more than 51% of people easily am there. But like, for example, I used to work for this llama, and a young person, a young wonderful person, he was like in his 20s, mid-20s, that I worked with when I worked with the llama, got in a motorcycle accident and passed away. And the llama had known his name is Sky. The llama had known Sky since Sky was like a baby, and we're at his funeral, and I'm like losing it, right? Like I'm just like ugly crying. And I remember, and Sky was super Buddhist, and his whole family was very Buddhist, and he had been raised in this tight-knit Buddhist community. So his brother like wraps his arms around me and pats me on the back and goes, "It's just the body, Yvette. It's just the body." And like, what a beautiful example of someone who has done the inner engineering. Welcome back from that brief commercial break of extracurricular noise in the best possible timeline. I've got to wrap this up because it is uncontrollably noisy in my house right now. So it was so beautiful to see my friend's brother be able to be that strong, grounded rock, even though he was only in his early 20s, and they were very, very close, and we were at his brother's funeral. So, I mean, that is the goal, to get there, right? I don't know if I'll ever achieve it in this life, but I am a lot closer to it than I was when I was healthy, and like I was a stranger to this kind of thing. I mean, I was into it before, but nothing like being trapped in your bed for 5 years to really make it a priority. Yeah, this is just such a phenomenal book filled with so much wisdom, and then he has these sadhanas too. So I just flipped to a page of sadhana. It's like something he thinks you could do in order to cultivate your practice of inner engineering. So I just flipped to one. I don't know what this is. I'm gonna read it to you unless I get interrupted. Sadhana, the simplest thing that you can do to change the health and fundamental structure of your body is to treat the 5 elements with devotion and respect. Just try this. Every time you are consciously in touch with any of the elements, which you are every moment of your life, just make a conscious attempt to refer to it in terms of whatever you consider to be the ultimate or loftiest ideal of your life, whether it is Shiva, Rama, Krishna, God, Allah, or even Marx. You are a psychological being right now, and your mind is full of hierarchy. This process will settle the hierarchy. After some time, the world can fall away, but you instantly see the changes as the number of truly conscious moments of your life increases. That the air you breathe, the food that you eat, the water you drink, and the land that you walk upon, and the very space that holds you, every one of them offers you divine possibility. That one was a little esoteric. Maybe in context it's a little less weird. And then he's got this enshrining of the elements. He talks about how in India 5 temples were built for each of the 5 elements, and not for worship, but to facilitate the specific type of spiritual practice. To cleanse the water element, you would go into a particular temple and do one kind of practice, and air and another, blah blah blah. He doesn't tell you what those practices are. It's kind of okay. Yeah. Anyway, it changes you. I know it sounds weird. That wasn't the best example, but like for example, now when I'm in the shower, like I have a relationship with the water that falls out. I appreciate it. I have gratitude for it. I play with the hot, I play with the cold, I play with how it feels on me. And that's just one tiny part of inner engineering, like a smidgen of what he gets into in this amazing book. There's another quote by, of course, our boy Deepak Chopra, who everybody but me loves. Inner Engineering is a fascinating read, rich with Sadhguru's insights and his teachings. If you are ready, it is a tool to help you awaken your own inner intelligence, the ultimate and supreme genius that mirrors the wisdom of the cosmos. So again, it's a lofty ambition of any book, but I think it delivers. I will say I completely disagree with his dietary ideas, and we can get into that if you want. But so just like the first book, take what resonates and leave the rest, and that's kind of how I live my whole life, is like very a la carte. So these are my favorite books. These are my go-tos if I'm having a day. These are, of all the books I've ever read, the ones I hope I can inspire you to read, because they have given me such a strong foundation for my own witness consciousness, inner engineering, capacity to be a loving person, which love is like a value near the top of my value hierarchy. So these are my favorite books that I read over and over and over again and get so much out of every single time. And I don't know if this is an audiobook. These two make great audiobooks. Yeah, so that is it for the first book recommendation in the best possible timeline. If you have any book recommendations for me, please feel free to drop them in the comments down below. said this before, but hit the subscribe button somewhere. Yeah, stay with us for more books in the best possible timeline, for my best possible timeline to yours. I am wishing you so much love, light, a wellspring of inner peace, and a foundation of inner engineering.